Authenticity is one of the most powerful forms of attractiveness a woman can possess, because there is something unforgettable about a person who is completely comfortable being herself. In a world where people constantly compare themselves to others, change their appearance for approval, and try to fit into expectations, being genuine has become rare. And what is rare often becomes valuable. You don't have to walk into every room trying to impress everyone. You don't have to change your personality because someone else has a different opinion of you. You don't have to pretend that you love things you don't enjoy, understand things you don't understand, or feel confident when you're actually still growing. You are allowed to be a work in progress. Being authentic doesn't mean you never improve yourself. It means you improve yourself because you want to grow, not because you believe the person you are today isn't worthy. There is a huge difference between self-improvement and self-rejection. Self-improvement says, I can become better. Self-rejection says, I am not good enough unless I become someone else. One builds confidence, the other destroys it. An attractive woman understands this difference. She can look at herself honestly and say, there are things I want to improve, but I don't have to hate myself in order to change. That mindset creates a quiet confidence that people can feel. Think about the people you naturally enjoy being around. Often, it isn't because they are the most beautiful, the richest, or the most successful people in the room. It's because you feel comfortable around them. They aren't constantly performing. They aren't trying to prove something. They are simply present. That is the power of authenticity. When you stop trying to become everyone's favorite person, you create space to become yourself. Some people may not understand you, some may disagree with your choices, some may even walk away. And while that can hurt, it doesn't mean you should abandon yourself just to keep them. You don't need universal approval to have value. There will always be someone who thinks you're too quiet, too ambitious, too emotional, too independent, too traditional, too modern, too serious, or not serious enough. If you spend your entire life trying to satisfy every opinion, you will eventually lose track of your own voice. Your responsibility is not to become who everyone expects you to be. Your responsibility is to understand your values and live according to them. Authenticity also means accepting your imperfections. Maybe you have insecurities, maybe you have made mistakes, maybe there are parts of your appearance or personality that you are still learning to appreciate. That doesn't make you less worthy. You don't have to wait until you become perfect before you allow yourself to feel confident. Confidence can exist while you're still growing, so stop asking, what do I need to change so people will like me? Start asking, what can I do to become more honest, more courageous, and more comfortable with who I am? Because the moment you stop pretending, something changes, you become lighter, you become calmer, you become more confident, and most importantly, you become free. The most attractive woman isn't necessarily the woman who gets the most attention. Sometimes she is the woman who doesn't need attention to know who she is. She knows herself, she respects herself, she continues to grow, and she refuses to trade her authenticity for approval. That is real power. Self-respect creates confidence because the way you treat yourself teaches other people how you expect to be treated. When you respect yourself, you stop accepting things that constantly make you feel small, unwanted, or unimportant. You begin to understand that confidence isn't something you simply wake up with one morning. It is built through the decisions you make every day. A woman with self-respect doesn't believe she is better than everyone else. She simply understands that she deserves the same basic respect she gives to others. She knows that being kind does not mean allowing people to disrespect her. Being loving does not mean tolerating endless hurt. And being understanding does not mean ignoring her own needs. Sometimes women are taught to keep the peace at any cost. They are told to be agreeable, forgiving, patient, and accommodating. These qualities can be beautiful, but they become dangerous when they require you to abandon yourself. There is a difference between being a peaceful person and constantly sacrificing your peace for other people. Self-respect teaches you to recognize that difference. It teaches you that saying no is not something you should feel guilty about. You don't have to explain every decision you make. You don't have to accept every invitation, every demand, or every person's expectations. Your time matters. Your energy matters. Your feelings matter. When you start protecting these things, your confidence begins to grow. Imagine someone repeatedly speaks to you disrespectfully. Without self-respect, you might keep making excuses for them. You might think, maybe I am being too sensitive, or maybe if I try harder, they'll change. But self-respect allows you to step back and recognize reality. You can care about someone and still decide that their behavior is unacceptable. You can forgive someone and still maintain distance. You can love someone and still choose yourself. That is not selfishness. That is maturity. Self-respect also means keeping promises to yourself. If you tell yourself that you will work toward a goal, take care of your health, learn a new skill, or stop allowing certain behavior into your life, follow through. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you send your mind a powerful message. I can trust myself. And self-trust is one of the foundations of confidence. You don't need to constantly tell people that you're confident. Your choices will communicate it for you. A confident woman doesn't always have the loudest voice. Sometimes confidence looks like calmly leaving an argument that is going nowhere. Sometimes it looks like refusing to chase someone who has made their lack of interest clear. Sometimes it looks like sitting alone and realizing that loneliness is better than being surrounded by people who constantly disrespect you. The more you respect yourself, the less desperate you become for external approval. You stop asking, do they like me? You start asking, do I like who I am when I'm around them? You stop asking, how can I make them stay? You start asking, does this relationship deserve a place in my life? Those questions change everything. Self-respect doesn't make you cold. It makes your kindness intentional. It allows you to give love without losing yourself. It allows you to help others without destroying your own well-being. And eventually, you realize that confidence isn't about believing you're perfect. It's about knowing that even when you make mistakes, you will still stand beside yourself. You will learn, you will grow, you will correct yourself, and you will keep moving forward. That is why self-respect is so powerful, because when you respect yourself, you no longer need to convince everyone else of your value. You already know it. One of the biggest obstacles to confidence is the constant need for validation. When you depend on other people to tell you that you are beautiful, intelligent, successful, or worthy, you give them control over how you feel about yourself. The moment their attention disappears, your confidence can disappear with it. But real confidence begins when you stop making other people's opinions the foundation of your identity. Of course, compliments feel good. Everyone enjoys being appreciated. There is nothing wrong with wanting encouragement or enjoying positive attention. The problem begins when you cannot feel valuable without it. If nobody compliments you today, does that mean you became less beautiful? If someone doesn't respond to your message, does that mean you're less important? If someone chooses someone else, does that mean you are not enough? No, their behavior may tell you something about their preferences, their circumstances, or their feelings, but it does not define your worth. An attractive and confident woman understands that her value cannot be measured by how much attention she receives. She doesn't need to walk into a room and wonder, who noticed me? Instead, she thinks, how do I feel about myself? That shift is powerful. When you stop chasing validation, you stop performing for people. You no longer feel pressured to constantly prove that you're attractive, successful, interesting, or worthy of love. You can simply exist. You can wear something because you like it, not because you want strangers to approve of it. You can pursue a career because it matters to you, not because you need everyone to admire your success. You can post something online without checking every reaction as if your self-worth depends on the number of likes. You can walk away from someone who doesn't appreciate you without spending months trying to convince them of your value. This doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop allowing their opinions to control your identity. There will always be people who don't recognize your value. Even the most talented, beautiful, kind, and successful woman will experience rejection at some point. You cannot control everyone's opinion of you. What you can control is the opinion you have of yourself. And that opinion should be built on something deeper than appearance or popularity. Build it on your character. Build it on your values. Build it on the promises you keep. Build it on the challenges you've survived. Build it on the person you're becoming. Maybe someone doesn't think you're attractive. That doesn't make you unattractive. Maybe someone doesn't understand your personality. That doesn't mean you need to change it. Maybe someone doesn't appreciate your effort. That doesn't make your effort meaningless. Sometimes people simply aren't capable of giving you the recognition you hoped for. And that's okay. You don't need to spend your life standing in front of people asking them to confirm your worth. You need to become your own source of encouragement. Tell yourself, I'm proud of how far I've come. Tell yourself, I can make mistakes and still respect myself. Tell yourself, I don't need everyone to choose me. Tell yourself, I am still worthy while I am growing. The more you practice this, the stronger your confidence becomes. Eventually, compliments become a bonus instead of a necessity. Attention becomes enjoyable instead of addictive. Rejection becomes painful but survivable. And being alone becomes an opportunity to reconnect with yourself rather than proof that something is wrong with you. That is the freedom that comes from releasing the need for constant validation. Because when you know your worth, you don't spend your entire life asking other people to tell you what you already know. You become secure enough to appreciate compliments without depending on them. You become strong enough to accept criticism without allowing it to destroy you. And you become confident enough to walk through life knowing that your value was never determined by someone else's approval. Your worth was never theirs to give, and it is certainly not theirs to take away. Your appearance may be the first thing someone notices, but your character is what people remember. Beauty can attract attention for a moment, but the way you treat people, the way you handle difficult situations, and the energy you bring into a room can leave a lasting impression. That is why true attractiveness goes much deeper than physical appearance. A woman can be beautiful and still make everyone around her uncomfortable. She can have perfect clothes, perfect hair, and a perfect smile, but if she constantly insults people, seeks attention, or treats others badly, her beauty quickly loses its impact. On the other hand, a woman who is kind, confident, emotionally mature, and genuinely interested in others can become more attractive the longer you know her. Why? Because character creates connection. Think about someone you genuinely admire. Maybe she isn't the person who looks perfect in every photograph. Maybe she doesn't have the most expensive clothes or the biggest social media following. But when she walks into a room, people respect her. Why? Because she carries herself with confidence, she listens, she keeps her word. She doesn't need to put others down to feel important. She knows how to disagree without becoming disrespectful. She celebrates other people's success. She knows how to apologize when she's wrong. These qualities create a kind of attractiveness that cannot be purchased. Kindness is especially powerful. But kindness doesn't mean being weak or allowing people to take advantage of you. A truly attractive woman can be kind while maintaining strong boundaries. She can say, I understand your situation, but I cannot accept the way you're treating me. She can forgive without forgetting the lesson. She can help someone without allowing them to control her. She can be compassionate without abandoning herself. That combination of softness and strength is powerful. Emotional maturity is another quality that makes a person deeply attractive. Life will always give you reasons to become angry, jealous, defensive, or bitter. But emotional maturity allows you to pause before reacting. Instead of immediately sending an angry message, you take a moment. Instead of turning every disagreement into a fight, you communicate. Instead of blaming everyone else, you ask yourself, what can I learn from this? That doesn't mean you never get angry or upset. You're human. You will have difficult emotions. The difference is that your emotions don't control every decision you make. You learn to respond instead of simply reacting. Curiosity also adds incredible depth to a person's personality. A curious woman wants to understand things. She asks questions. She learns. She isn't afraid to say, I don't know. She can have a conversation about more than herself. She wants to know what other people think, what they have experienced, and what they dream about. And that makes being around her interesting. Confidence adds another layer. True confidence doesn't require arrogance. You don't have to prove that you're better than everyone else. You don't need to dominate every conversation. You don't need to make someone else feel small so that you can feel important. Real confidence is quiet. It allows you to celebrate yourself without insulting others. It allows you to walk into a room without desperately needing attention. And perhaps most importantly, character determines what happens when nobody is watching. Anyone can be kind when people are observing. Anyone can appear confident on social media. Anyone can create an impressive image. But who are you when there is nothing to gain? How do you treat the waiter? How do you speak about people who aren't present? How do you behave when you make a mistake? How do you respond when someone else succeeds? These moments reveal character, and character is what creates lasting attractiveness. So never believe that your worth depends only on how you look. Take care of your appearance, certainly. Dress in a way that makes you feel confident. Take pride in yourself, but don't stop there. Develop your mind, strengthen your character, practice kindness, build emotional maturity, learn how to communicate, become curious. Keep your promises, and become someone whose presence makes other people feel respected and valued, because physical beauty may open a door, but character determines what happens after you walk through it. And when beauty and character come together, you don't simply become someone people notice, you become someone people remember. The ultimate goal is not to become attractive to everyone. The ultimate goal is to become a woman you genuinely respect. Because when you respect the person you are becoming, you no longer need to spend your entire life chasing approval, attention, or acceptance from other people. There will always be someone who doesn't like you, someone who doesn't understand you, someone who thinks you should make different choices. If you build your identity around pleasing everyone, you will constantly be changing yourself to fit someone else's expectations. And eventually, you may look in the mirror and realize you don't even recognize yourself anymore. That's why one of the most important questions you can ask is not, what do people want me to become? Ask yourself, who do I want to become? Think about the woman you would admire. Maybe she is confident but humble. Maybe she is kind but has strong boundaries. Maybe she is ambitious but still makes time for the people she loves. Maybe she is emotionally strong, honest, disciplined, and compassionate. Now ask yourself another question. What would that woman do today? Not next year, not when everything becomes perfect today. Maybe she would stop chasing someone who doesn't appreciate her. Maybe she would finally start working toward the dream she's been postponing. Maybe she would forgive herself for an old mistake. Maybe she would stop comparing herself to another woman. Maybe she would say no to something that constantly drains her. Maybe she would simply rest because she has been demanding too much from herself. Becoming the woman you respect happens through small decisions. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you become stronger. Every time you choose discipline over a temporary distraction, you build character. Every time you choose honesty over pretending, you become more authentic. Every time you walk away from disrespect, you strengthen your boundaries. Every time you admit that you were wrong and learn from it, you develop maturity. You don't become your best self in one dramatic moment. You become her through hundreds of small choices. And remember, becoming someone you respect doesn't mean becoming perfect. Perfection is an impossible standard. You will still make mistakes. You will still have insecure days. You will still lose your patience sometimes. You will still make decisions you later regret. That's part of being human. The goal isn't to never fail. The goal is to become the kind of woman who learns from failure instead of allowing failure to define her. When you make a mistake, don't say, I'm a failure. Say, I made a mistake and now I know what I need to change. When a relationship ends, don't automatically say, nobody will ever love me. Say, this chapter ended, but my story isn't over. When someone rejects you, don't say, I'm not good enough. Say, their decision doesn't determine my worth. That is how you develop a powerful relationship with yourself. Eventually, you stop looking outside yourself for permission to feel worthy. You don't need everyone to approve of your choices. You don't need every person to understand your journey. You don't need to compete with other women. Your journey is yours. Your timeline is yours. Your growth is yours. And the woman you are becoming deserves your patience. Maybe you aren't where you want to be yet. That's okay. Maybe you still have insecurities. That's okay. Maybe you're still learning how to love yourself. That's okay too. What matters is that you keep moving forward, keep becoming, keep learning, keep choosing yourself in healthy ways, because one day You will look back at the woman you used to be and realize how much you've changed, not because you became perfect, but because you became more honest, more confident, more disciplined, more compassionate, and more secure in who you are. And that is the real definition of attractiveness, not being admired by everyone, not being desired by everyone, not being perfect, but becoming someone you can look at and genuinely say, I respect the woman I have become. When you reach that point, external validation becomes less important. You stop chasing attention, you stop begging to be chosen. You stop comparing your journey with someone else's. You simply live, you grow, you love, you learn. And you walk through life knowing that you don't have to prove your worth to anyone because you have finally learned to recognize it yourself.